What about you, Andrew? What would you say is the comment or tweet or statement that put you in the controversial box forever?
Yeah, I was around for a while and I was telling the truth for a while. And then on a podcast in Croatia, we were discussing the age of women. And I said that men prefer women who are younger. You prefer a woman who's 21 as opposed to 30. And the people asked why. And I said, because she's been fucked less. And I made the point that the more men who have fucked her, the less likely she is to truly fall in love with you. So I made this point that it's not pedophilia to like younger women. You're just trying to find a woman with less life experience because by and large, they've been fucked less than older women. Anyway, I made that point. The podcast came out. The next day, 400 different Instagram accounts had the same post and the same caption saying I was dangerous and misogynistic and homophobic and racist all at once. I didn't even say anything homophobic or racist. They just threw that in there. And this is where I always knew the Matrix was real, but it was kind of flabbergasting. The next day I woke up and 400 accounts had the exact same post about me. Also, the ADL said I was anti-Semitic on this day. I was like, I didn't even mention the Jews ever at this point. I never even mentioned them. And now I'm on that list. So that was really weird. And then 24 hours after that, I got the mass ban. Every single app on my phone logged out. My Gmail, my Skype, my Airbnb. I got banned on Instagram, banned on Discord. WhatsApp was banned. Every single application, they banned me overnight. And they started putting me on the BBC saying that I'm dangerous and I was banned for being a terrorist. And I sat there and I thought, why are they so threatened by that? And the extension is very simple. If you tell men to have standards for themselves, you're now an enemy of the system because they don't want men to have any degree of standard. And that's where the right-wing Christians and the Catholics hate me, because they're basically saying, don't have standards. They're saying, meet a woman and marry her and do the right thing. Well, she's probably a fucking whore, bro. I'm not doing that. And they say, I'm a bad person. Well, I make a whole bunch of white babies. I'm white enough. When I find a white woman, my kids look white as snow. So I'm out here having white babies. And throughout all of the bullshit I've been through, have any of my women betrayed me? We saw what happened with Crowder's wife and all these people. Have anyone come out and betrayed me? Some have come out and accused me of bullshit. Have any of the women with my kids or the women I'm close with betrayed me, let me down, or have they all stuck by me the entire way through? Like, I have good women around me with good loyalty inside of them. So I must be doing something right. But as soon as I told men to have any degree of standard for themselves and not instantly accept women and all their bad decisions, the entire system had a meltdown. And I think that's what really red-pilled me and made me realize that, yeah, big women's a thing.
What year was that, Andrew? What year
2021?
Was that? 2021.
I think it's a couple layers below, perhaps, the true power structures at the top. But women are certainly the pawns. They're the foot soldiers, convincing. And this is the thing that's so sad about it. And this is the thing when I make these tweets, which are deliberately prerogative and people attack me for them. They're deliberately using women to attack white men. Only white men listen to women. Black men don't listen to women. We don't listen to that, what they say. We don't care. White men are the only ones who says, well, the wife said one kid's enough. Well, if you're going to listen to her and she's a tool being used to get rid of your race, well, then you're going to go extinct. So I realized I really hit a nerve with that because of the massive backlash. And then my legal problems began. And then the UK Foreign Office wrote to the Romanians, and we all know the rest of the story. So that's when I really knew I was close to something. And big women is a serious fight. And I think a lot of people underestimate how much trouble you can get in for just saying as a man that you're allowed to have standards and you're allowed to expect loyalty and integrity from females. And you, for the same reason you don't want disloyal men around you, you don't want disloyal women around you. And their pasts do matter, because if someone was a thief their whole life, they're going to continue to steal. And if they were a whore their whole life, they'll continue to be a whore. And all of these things are very valid, but for some reason you cannot say them. And at the time, the internet was a lot more controlled. Nick, with all due respect, you barely saw him. They had his ass locked out. And I was around a little bit, but Kamala was in charge and all these things, and they did their very best to get rid of me. So that's when I really realized that they are very threatened by the basic idea of masculine integrity, sovereignty, and honor and strength. They're threatened by men who are not afraid of them. That's all it is. They're threatened by men who do not bend to peer pressure.
I got a question for you, Nick, because when it comes to women, me and Tate have a very similar ideology. Get sexual experience, increase your net worth, become the highest status you can be, and then kind of have your pick of the litter and get to a position where female sexual leverage can no longer control you, right? Someone like yourself, right? You're religious, you're devout Catholic. Obviously, you're young. You have a huge young audience that follows you. Obviously, on one end, you have the Catholic mindset where, monogamy, one wife, etc. But on the other hand, we know the realities of modern women now in 2025 versus 1955. And a lot of people that are your kind of counterparts, like a Matt Walsh, etc., advocate for the monogamy style, despite the fact that we're dealing with modern women. So as a guy that's like religious, right? That's religious, but still based to what modern women are. What's your take on this situation? How should men navigate the current sexual marketplace, in your opinion?
Well, I did a whole show about this on the Walsh versus Tate debate, and obviously I'm Catholic, so I do believe in one wife, one wife, monogamous, no adultery, no cheating, and you have kids. But I do think that the trad cats, the traditionalists, they're just not being honest about the deal. They want to LARP like it's the 50s, but it's not the 50s. And that matters. They're telling everybody, get married young, have more kids than you can afford. And that was the law, 100 years ago. Maybe that was the rule. That's what everybody was doing. But the whole situation was different. There was a social and cultural taboo against women even being like bossy, mouthy, sarcastic. They didn't want to be a shrew. They didn't want to be a bitch. They couldn't just divorce you with no reason by themselves and then take your stuff and your kids. They didn't have group chats. They didn't have TikTok. They didn't have Instagram. It was a different world. And so, a lot of people it really is a reckless message. And they like to say out of this LARP, pandering to the crowd, they say, oh, yeah, get married young, have more kids than you can afford. You know what the elite would hate? Have more kids, all this kind of stuff. And my message to the young men is you really got to get solid before you consider marriage. And when you get married, it's got to be an extremely judicious decision. If you're going to have a wife, and I believe you should have one wife, you got to pick the right one. And when you pick the right one, you got to lay the ground rules early. A lot of these young Catholic men, they're so taken by the women because they have no experience with them that they become simps, and the women run their shit. And I see it. I know many people that are like this. I know many young men who are married and the wife runs their shit. She wears the pants. And these good little Catholic boys, it's almost like they buy into it more than the woman does. Because a good little Catholic guy says, oh, she's an angel. God gave me an angel and all this kind of stuff. And the woman is thinking, this pussy, I'm going to run this guy's life. I'm the one who's in charge of the house. And I hate seeing it. And for this, they call me gay. For this, they say I'm anti-family. For this, they say I'm a fake Catholic. They say, why don't you encourage your followers to get married? I think they should do it, but I think they should do it responsibly. And they got to put the women in their place. Here's the thing. I find women incredibly annoying. I'm a super high IQ person. I find most people annoying in general. I think women are dumber than men. I find them extraordinarily annoying. And I don't know how most men don't. And if I'm ever going to get married, the arrangement is not going to be that I'm getting nagged, that I'm getting told what to do, that I'm checking in with my wife. It's like, you're going to do your fucking obligations. You're going to leave me alone. And you're going to be my wife. You're not going to be my buddy. You're not going to be my best friend. You're going to be my damn ass wife. And a lot of people say, oh, well, that means you don't really like women that much. It's like, yeah, I kind of don't. I mean, not as friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I think about,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're annoying, dude. I talk to them every day. It's literally, I don't know anyone that enjoys the company of women that sucks, but continue. Keep going. I'm just.
Yeah, hilarious. I mean, look, you want to fuck them and everything, but like, when I think about it, I want to go out and have the best time of my life. I think I want to go with my best male friend. I want to go with my best male friend who's intellectual and intelligent and risk-taking and that. I don't think like, oh, we're going to go on a trip. You know what would make this really awesome? If my wife were here, if my fucking wife were alive, and here's the litmus test. If there is no possibility of sex at all, are you still going to have a great time with a woman? Absolutely not.
Yeah,
it's only fun if there's a possibility of sex, because the game is fun. The game of, am I gonna get laid? When men talk about that, that's the part that's fun. The part that's fun is not her witty banter. It's not her stupid fucking inane commentary. It's the fact that you're playing a game. It's like gambling. And anyway, so I try to explain that. It doesn't come across all the time, but that's kind of my, maybe my fence sitting position. I'm spiritually with Tate, but by law, I'm with Matt Walsh, I guess.
And that's kind of why I wanted to ask you that so much, because, and Andrew, me and you have had private conversations on this stuff for years, how much women annoy us and stuff like that. And I find it interesting that, and I'm going to turn it to you, Andrew, that they call us gay. They call us weird because we don't enjoy the company of women. We'd rather be around like-minded guys that are higher IQ so that we can make each other sharper. But then normies will sit there and be like, you don't want to be around women? You're gay. Like, it's retarded. But go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, I think white people especially have a very precarious scenario because they're on the risk of basically simping themselves into extinction. Like, whenever I see these OnlyFans girls say, I made $1 million in a day, I know there's not a single cent or a dollar. Like, that's all white people. That's white people. That's white boys. A lot of them are the same ones talking about getting married. And I can even talk about my webcam company I had, which I've been very honest and open about. All those were white men. They were all married. They all were, I love my wife, and then going to the toilet with a laptop, jerking off when their wife went to sleep. These people aren't even loyal. That's the worst thing about it. They pretend to be loyal, but perhaps they can't do any better, or they're scared of getting divorce raped. They're not even actually genuinely loyal. So white people are in a really precarious scenario because they're the only ones who listen to women at all, and they're on the verge of basically simping themselves into extinction. The OnlyFans girl who just extorted Shannon Sharpe and sued him for sexual assault and took all his money, took $10 million and quit her OnlyFans. All her stories now on Instagram are the Bible and Catholic Church because she just got a payout and now she's walking around there. And I guess what? It's going to be some little white boy Catholic who meets her, holds her hand and says, I can't believe that big black man did those evil things to you. You definitely didn't want him to fuck you like that, you poor thing. Let me marry you, love you, darling, and maybe get one kid out of it before he gets divorce raped and end up sending money to some other OnlyFans girls. This is a big white problem. This simping shit is a white issue. It's a big one.
Especially married guys.
It's difficult. It is difficult. And I understand what Nick's saying about, he's a Catholic and he has certain rules and certain things he wants to live by. I get it. The life system I came up with was basically me just looking at the chessboard and going, okay, there's the game they want me to play. What's the best move on the board? How do I get children? How do I not end up being nagged? How do I not get divorce raped? How do I keep my sovereignty? And I made that decision to do those things so I can have 25 children because I believe that's the most important thing to do. But doing that has alienated a huge swath of people who then say I'm a bad person because I'm not married and I don't have one wife and I'm not Catholic and that I am a terrible Jew for some reason, not understanding that their mindset is the reason they are being replaced and their hub.com with the other and jerk off to girls who are actually human trafficked. So the whole thing is so hypocritical and stupid. But by and large, yeah, there was a pretty simple societal contract which has now been broken. I'll take care of you, I'll protect and provide for you, and you'll do as I say. And that's now been broken, and women don't want to listen. And men are still expected, from the tradcons at least, to do all the work with none of the rewards. And I think, as Nick quite correctly pointed out, it's very dangerous to tell young men to go and sign up for that deal, especially when the full force of the law will come down anytime she wants and destroy the guy. So before, we're right. We have a lot of things to do when it comes to noticing, a lot of things to do when it comes to getting hold of the reins of power. That's all true. But we also have a lot of things to do when it comes down to the simple fact that we need people to have families that they're proud of, that they can reproduce within without being completely fucking decimated emotionally, financially, and most importantly, spiritually. No man is going to go to war for his country if he doesn't feel like the king of his own house. If he comes home and his wife doesn't listen to him and he's getting henpecked, he ain't going to go and defend that street or defend that town. You're breaking the man's spirit. You're breaking his soul over a fucking toilet seat. And you're wondering why they get away with what they get away with. That's why big women's such a threat. That's why they push it so heavily. That's why they have the full force of the law behind them, who, by the way, are men with guns. Men. So it's a really precarious scenario. And I have a lot of young people who come to me and ask the same question. And I don't even have an answer. because I'm in a very unique situation. I'm one of the most famous men on the planet with hundreds of millions of dollars. Of course, I can get women to have my kids. Of course, I can see them all. I fly my kids around on private jets all day and get them in 3 in and out the house a day. No one else can do that. If you're a normal man, what do? How do you set yourself up to win? It's extremely difficult, but it is a conundrum that must be solved.